with the way they conducted themselves and at every event. And I keep stressing it every time, and I don't need to stress it anymore. And I know that. With this is the 4th United Kingdom event, was 4th or 5th. It's the 3rd one I've been at, because I was in prison for 2 of them. But even then, I remember at each one, I remember a feeling. Do you know, I went to Poland for the Independence Day. Did I go in 2015? And when I went there, I experienced something I'd never experienced. There was 250,000 Poles, children on their shoulders, celebrating their identity. And as I spoke to the Polish and I looked at Polish history to understand their history, I understood why they've always fought for their identity. And I experienced something. I remember standing at the front like that, and I felt power. I just felt something all over me that I felt jealous of, because I felt we've lost this. In Great Britain, we don't have this. This pride and this, whether you call it camaraderie, this togetherness that brings them all together for their identity, their culture and their country and the celebration. I interviewed Polish people that day who have been in England, and they said, your older generation know who they are. Your new generation, they are lost. And I get that. So as I'm looking at our country, our new generation are lost. But I've never felt that. And I remember then on the 27th of July, 100,000 people in Trafalgar Square. I remember standing there thinking, wow, I feel it.
That's another United Kingdom
event, 100,000 people. And I felt, and I'm feeling, look, I've got goosebumps now. I've got goosebumps now.
One of the things that I noticed about you is that you are actually, for somebody who's portrayed in the media as thuggish or loud, football hooligan, far right, all those things, every time I've seen you do interviews like this one, and every time I've seen you on a stage or giving a speech, actually you get quite emotional. You're quite an emotional guy.
I am an emotional guy. Yeah. I'm an emotional. I am, yeah.
Which I find, I have to say again.
But real men cry, don't they?
Well, that's what they say, right? And you know, you're obviously quite a tough person. And I think you've seen your fair share of violence in your lifetime. You've handed out some of it as far as I understand. And I don't want to go through all the individual, he did this, he did that, he joined here, he joined there. That's out there for people to see, and it's in your books. And I think a lot of the accusations have been answered. I'm not really commenting on what's right and wrong about that. I think that's quite covered, that territory. I want to talk really more with you today about where you are now and how you got here as a person. I'll say one last thing about the march. It was my first time at a Tommy Robinson event. And I had an umbrella. I came prepared with an umbrella, and it started pouring at a couple of points during it. And at one point I was standing in this area at the front with press and VIPs, and someone tapped me on the shoulder who'd come and seen me and in the crowd before, and they said they'd seen my videos, and so we'd had a bit of a chat, and they said, do you mind if someone comes and stands under your umbrella with you? And I said, sure. And this woman came along, and it was your mum. And she said, this is my first Tommy Robinson event. How was it to see your mum in the front row there?
I'm emotional already. It was yeah, not too much. God, look at me. You're right, I'm an emotional man, aren't I? Joe, my emotions are so up and down as well. They fly everywhere. It was great for my mum to see, and it was great for my children. My children's first one was the 27th of July. Remember, my children have seen a lot and heard a lot and hear a lot of negative stuff about their dad. So then when they actually, for the first time, got to see what I do, it was obviously, I looked at their faces, they would just stand there, like, looking at the crowd, like, and watching it and listening. And I think for my mum as well, I looked at my mum and she had a big smile on her face. I'd say she was very proud. And I've put her through some hell. So imagine the worry I've given my mum. Do you know, I'm a father, I've got 3 kids. God, if my kids give me any one bit of the worry that I've put her through. And you want to take everything away from your children, don't you? You'd take every bit of pain, every bit of suffering. So I think my mum's had to see a lot and experience a lot.
And I asked her, I said, how does it feel seeing him? Are you proud? I mean, the thing is, she must be very proud.
Yeah.
And well, go on.
Listen, let me humor. Stop swearing. Even my messages, like, she watches all her videos. And I got one yesterday, will you stop swearing? Found this by accident. It's a great interview. She's obviously watching all my interviews. Look, this is you at your best.
So your mum must worry about you a lot.
Yeah, my mum worries about me a lot, and I put her through a lot of worry, haven't I? I've been in some bad places, some dark places. Not even outside of all the politics, I probably put her through a hell of a lot of worry. I remember when I started the English Defence League, I started my activism 2009. I had a family at that point, and I had 2 successful businesses and 7 properties. So I was doing well. And my passion was making money. And then then we had the Soldiers' Homecoming. Just many people will know the history of what started it, but the soldiers were attacked in Luton. And then I formed the United People of Luton, which developed into the English Defence League. And then I started the movement. And it was when I got invited on Jeremy Paxman. And my mum had been begging and crying. My whole family had. Stop, Stephen, please stop. Because in the first 6 months, the police kicked the door off 3 times. They raided my mum's house. They ransacked her house. It was all, when I looked at it, it was all pressure tactics. So they were trying to crush. I was coming out and talking about grooming gangs. This was at a time when there was no mention of grooming gangs, and the police were in total cover-up mode across the country. South Yorkshire police travelled down. They raided my mum's house with guns. This is the same police force, Rotherham Police Force. They travelled down. They gave me a criminal damage charge. They went to my children's home and my mum's house, ransacked both of them, and then they gave me bail conditions not to be in a group of 3 or more English Defence League. The bail date was to prevent me talking at another English Defence League demonstration in Yorkshire, and it was Yorkshire police that come down. But this was total cover-up mode. And at that time, I remember my mum was just crying all the time, saying, please, Stephen. And she worked at the Catholic school.
How old were you then?
25. And she worked at the Catholic school in Luton. And they'd sat her down and warned her. First of all, like they were saying prayers in the staff room for Shabina, a Muslim member of staff, whose dad was debating the far-right racist extremist leader of the English Defence League. And my mum standing in the staff room, like, that's my son. But they didn't know it was her son at the time. So she's come home crying, saying it's so embarrassing.
Did she ever believe it? What they said about you?
No, she knew. Everyone who knows me in Luton, like, I remember when I first had to tell my kids, your dad's Tommy Robinson, which was when they're going to middle school. And they didn't have a clue. They're totally shielded from all of it. So they had no idea their dad. But when my daughter started at 9 years old, she goes to the middle school. When that come, the school said, you're going to have to tell her. Like, because when she gets to the next school, kids are 10 and 11, they're going to tell her. So then I had to sit my daughter down and I had to sit my kids down and explain, look, people are going to say bad things about your dad. But then because they know, so I've got friends, I've got a Muslim mate called Sully. I said, do you know Sully? She said, yeah. I said, you know I love him. You know our relationship. And she said, yeah. They know the diversity of my friendship and loved ones. They know that. So then for them, their dad to be getting called a racist, it's nonsense to them. But my mum had always been begging me to stop, begging me. And all my family had. And then I got invited on to Jeremy Paxman. And I remember coming home that night and I walked in and my mum said, you were fucking brilliant, Stephen. Sorry, Mum, because she doesn't like everyone knows she swears. She said, you were fucking brilliant. From that point, my family in those early years, even my ex-wife, I just said, look, I can't stop. I can't stop. Yeah. So my mum's been through a lot. My dad's been, they've seen some terrible situations, me in terrible places, me coming out of jail. I was wrecked when I come out of jail. Wrecked from solitary confinement each time. Absolute mess. So they've seen me suffering mentally, physically, beatings, fear. Obviously, a lot of my problems, which I only come to now, they come from fear, or it's constant fear.
That picture just there, it's got two of the most important men in my upbringing. One of them is my dad, and the other one's my therapist. He was a publisher. He published the book of my therapist. Weirdly, have you got a therapist?
No, I haven't. No.
Have you thought about it?
No, I should have one. I know I should have one.
Best thing people can do. I've got to tell you.
Yeah,
I recommend it.
Well, I went on a 28-day rehab. Yeah. I just made my film Silence, the one I went to jail for. And when I lost that court case, they bankrupted me. I lost the court case. I got divorced. It was at the start of COVID. And I'll be honest, I needed a break. I was gone. And so I booked into 28-day therapy. And when I went there, you sit around the room like this, and you sit around the room and you have to say why you're there. You have to say why you're there. My name's Stephen. I'm a fucking lunatic. My name's Stephen. I'm a lunatic. But you have to say why you're there. And I said, and all these people were saying, I said, I'm here for a break. And everyone's like, what? I said, I'm just here for a break, man. I need a break. I needed to get out. And then I realised, then as I listen to these people talk about addictions